and what are the next key challenges to making it work better?
Owen, I didn't hear the operative word.
How's what working, Owen? We missed the word.
Okay. The question reads back, how do you feel the new organization is working today? And secondly, what are the next key challenges to making it work better?
All right. And where were you when I needed you on the last question, Owen? Let me answer how I think it's working. I think it's working enormously well in many aspects. When you listen to what Bruce and Carl and Bob were talking about and Peter was talking about, I think you should receive a feeling of confidence that we really are focusing a great deal more on that end user, on new business opportunities, new applications for our product, and that we really are looking out longer term, not just the quarter and this year. And I think that part of it is very encouraging. I think the part of the organizational structure that was melding together the development activity, the engineering activity, and the manufacturing groups, I think is going swimmingly. And I think that its marriage into the cross-functional teams with the business units under these three guys is going very well. I think we've got a lot of learning to do. Remember, we've only been at this 9 months. But the fact of the matter is, I think that part of it is going well. I think the part that is the interface between the business unit groups and the sales organization is an area where we've got to spend more time and energy and really understand better why that isn't working better. Lee and Bruce and Carl and Bob and I, along with you, Owen and Shelley, met yesterday morning to really begin a review of that process, to really ask ourselves today, how is that going as far as that sales activity? And we've got a lot of questions, and so we're going to investigate that, and I think in good total quality ownership type things, by really checking ourselves in the loop of, we set out a plan, we did it, now it's time to check on how we're doing and then to improve that, and we're in that process. So I guess I was only supposed to speak 2 minutes, but let me just say I'm really very encouraged about it. I think we've got a number of hurdles to go ahead of ourselves. We've got to integrate the international piece in better than we have. But I think we understand those challenges, and I think we're going to continue to improve the process as we go forward.
While the sites are going to the phone, let's see if we can't take another question from our studio audience. Don, you had a question.
Yes, I'd be interested to know how one film is going.
Well, Bruce, that's off to you again.
We're making good progress with one film. As we look at the audit and survey data that comes back to us on a periodic basis, we are increasing in market share, and our sales are increasing. As I said in my remarks, it's also gratifying to see how some of our retailers are using one film in conjunction with instant film to help merchandise our entire product line. And that gets us very nice shelf space, and we think helps us sell more instant film. So we're making progress. It's a struggle out there. It's a tough competitive battle, no question about it, but we are inching up in market share, and we are making some good progress.
All right, I believe we have another Waltham question, this time from the reservoir, from R5. Your question, please?
Hi, this is Gary Levy talking from Battery Manufacturing. I have a question for Bob Delahunt. Considering what we've all seen on TV over the last 2 months about the Gulf War, the question is, how is Polaroid used in the U.S. military?
Gary, the most obvious application during the Gulf War was, on the plus side, was our 8x10 radiographic film. As I recall, we sold more in the month of January than we did all of last year combined. So it was a significant increase in the use. On the downside, there was, as everyone knows, a great deal of concern about air travel, and tourism was off substantially. So that it hurt us from that aspect on the passport business. So from those two perspectives, it was about a little loss in terms of the travel versus actual application by the military.
We seem to have a question at the Marriott in Cambridge. Your question, please.
Yes, sir. We do have a question here. It's directed to Peter Klein. The question is the Electronic Imaging Organization only a product and application group, or do you in fact expect to market some of the products that result from your efforts directly to end users?
Shelley, my answer to that is that it is really quite clear that our primary responsibility is to pave the way for the three major businesses that we have, and we would look forward to them being successful in marketing products that are positioned for the markets and applications that these three businesses represent. As Max said earlier, there is an opportunity, in fact, I think a challenge and a real opportunity for us to examine where the opportunity exists for creating products that the customers need in new markets that we don't currently serve. One of those examples, by the way, is the graphic arts activity, which is today within the electronic imaging sector. But what we really will need to focus on is to define those opportunities and define the ways of creating the differentiation from competition for the customers, and then we'll see where they fit. We might add them to the businesses we currently have, or I would think that if the demands on channels of distribution or in the way these products will have to be positioned in the marketplace are quite unique, then I think they demand that that will be treated in an individual way. So I would think that that form follows function in this case.
For the folks gathered at the Hillcrest site, do you have a question?
Good morning. This is Satish Agarwal from the Hillcrest. We have a question for Bruce Henry.
Go right ahead.
Several years ago, there was marketing data that said consumers want large-size pictures. We are now going to market a Joshua camera which will give small pictures. Hence, are we really sure that we're not just making the marketing data fit the decision already made to go ahead with the Joshua camera?
First of all, we're happy to give the customers large-size pictures. We'd be delighted if they want large-size pictures to buy a beautiful Spectra system or buy a 600 system. That's fine, because we are going to offer a full product system. There's no question that I think at least 90% of us at one time or other had a concern about the smaller picture associated with Joshua. We've gone through extensive research, 7,000 people, and there's no question that there is a significant group of people who are willing to make that trade-off that goes with a smaller picture, that being the smaller camera. So there's a group of people that system is very important to, and they're happy with the smaller picture. Again, we're going to be marketing the entire product line for those folks that would love larger pictures, and we're delighted to sell it to them through the Spectra and 600 system. But the key thing is that we think that there is a large segment that relate to the compactness of the camera and the size of the picture, and it's large enough to give us a very important incrementality such that the total profitability will be ahead. So we think we're going to offer both systems to the consumer group.
I'd like to tag on that, Harry, if I could, for just a second, because the question Satish asked, I think, needs just to build on what Bruce said, in that I don't believe we made this rationalization, as the implication was, that the data out there supports our decision already. In fact, this was a process where we really seriously took the data and looked at it very hard and took it again and again and went out there and looked. And the data was the criteria that made us make this decision to go forward. So we didn't rationalize ourselves on this one. We'll find out if the data was correct when we get there. But it was the most extensive market research that this company's ever done, as Bruce has said. And boy, it went through a tight filter to make sure that we were at least objectively going forward.
Seems like we have a lot of curious people out in Waltham. This time, someone from R5. Your question, please?
Yes, Harry. One of our members has a question around business imaging. They state that they've talked to several business people who like to use our instant products in the areas of real estate, auto body, etc. However, many business people are having trouble finding our business-oriented products in normal retail outlets. The question is, are there any plans to make our existing products more easily available? And also, are there plans to expand our marketing efforts to make our business customers, both large and small, more aware of our new products as they become available? And if so, what are these plans?
Well, that's a super question, and I'm going to refer that to Carl because I think that's right down his alley.
That's a good question. It's a compound question. First of all, we find that about 1/3 of the products that go through the mass market consumer channels like Kmart, Walmart, and camera stores today are actually purchased by business users. And now, you could argue that that's by default because they're there for the family users in Bruce's area, and many of the business users have found out about them and for their own applications by themselves. What we're starting to do now is we have set up customer advisory groups where we go to each marketplace, which we define in the business arena, every 6 months, and we talk to a selected group of customer leaders. For example, I was in Cincinnati last week talking to the National Home Remodelers about where and how they would like to, A, buy our products, and B, what special features they would like to see in our products. We also learned very recently that we have an opportunity to take the products, by and large, that Bruce markets to the family market and tailor them modestly and position them against the business market through direct sales and specialized channels and have very tremendous success. For example, we ran a couple of print insertions recently at the end of last year against auto body channels with a 600 business edition camera, which is a 600 camera, close-up features, ruggedized so that it's a little more rugged. We trademarked the name business edition. We sold about 8,300 cameras off that one print ad, and that's more than about half as many as we had sold in the prior 4 or 5 years combined by just trying to, into that market by trying to leverage only the family products without positioning them against the business users. We've learned that auto body shops also would like to, for example, buy their film and cameras where they buy their paint, and that there are specialized distribution channels. So we're trying to learn through these customer advisory groups where the opportunities are, target products and distribution against them. Those are the marketing plans that are underway.
Another question from Waltham at the Reservoir site, R3. Your question, please?
Yes, this is Tom Rodriguez, and the question from our audience is, with the expected increase in film sales, will the film be made here or out of the country?
Well, I'll answer that to begin with, and then if Joe will get himself up here, maybe he can answer that also. Initially, I mean, we know today that the film is made outside of the United States. It's made, the integral film is made in Enschede as well as in R2. And I think that we would continue to look at the balance and the capacity of those facilities to make that decision. So my sense is that our strategy and Joe's strategy for our manufacturing activities will take into account what the needs are, what the timing of those needs are, and where we have the capacity and the capability of doing it. But Joe, what do you want to add to that?
We currently have under construction 2 additional machines in Enschede, and our 5-year strategic plan will have us fully utilizing all of the machines in Enschede and all of the machines that we have in Waltham, so that the mix of film, both operations are going to have to dramatically increase their output.
Thanks, Joe. I believe we have a question now from New Bedford. Your question, please, New Bedford.
Good morning, Harry. Our question is for Bruce, and it's strategic. Do we have any plans to expand our 35mm line in the U.S. as we have in Europe?
We're in the thinking stages on that, no question about it. We have come out, for those of you that aren't, this is top of mind, we came out with a one-film positioning in the U.S., which is a sort of a one-size-fits-all for the point-and-shoot camera folks. And in the European market, we have come out with a high-definition line and offer a range of film speeds. We are considering that option. I must admit that we are pleased with the one-film positioning. It is a little bit of an interesting thought process to bake into the one-film positioning a line extension set of products, because we're really targeting those point-and-shoot customers. But it is an agenda item for us. We are considering it, and it would be a 1990